Bring back in my think tank. Joining us tonight, civil rights attorney Joseph Lowe is with us, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Sarah Flack, and also from Denver, Colorado, trial attorney and civil attorney Brittany Kaiser. Sarah, let me start with you, since you have experience both on the defense and prosecutorial side. I mean, the biggest question that comes to me out of this case, you feel the pain. You look at the picture of that little boy. He just has no defense against these terrible, terrible things that were happening to him. How does this person, how does this woman, with a history of this kind of thing, end up with children like this? Why was no one jumping in to save these children?
You know, I think that's the biggest question, the biggest mystery in our system is you tend to see this in cases like this where you look at the child protective service history of a parent who's charged with abusing a child, and oftentimes you see repeated conduct where they're being investigated by child protective services, and you always wonder, how does it slip through the cracks? Unfortunately, I think that there's a huge disconnect between our criminal justice system and our child protective services system and our schooling system. And you would think that the three of these systems would work together so that information, one, is being shared through multiple agencies, but it doesn't. And so you get into a situation like this where you have a woman who has a history of this kind of behavior and now is charged in an allegation that doesn't get more serious, which is, killing her child, her own flesh and blood. And so it's just really, really tragic, unfortunate, doesn't even begin to describe a situation like this, but it certainly, I think, is preventable.
Brittany Kaiser, there were a couple of incidents with two of her other children, another daughter of hers. She actually went to jail because she sat the daughter on a hot stove as part of a punishment, burning her severely. The question is, can those things be used in court? I see a problem bringing in those prior acts in court because you can't bring in this evidence of a pattern, let's say, and how it relates to this particular crime. So do you think the prosecution will be able to use those other incidents in this case?
I definitely think that that is entirely permissible and is further evidence that deep-seated long-term child abuse of not just her son, who she is now accused of murdering, but also of abuse of her other children, is now tantamount to very permissible evidence. I definitely think that, unfortunately, as was just discussed, that child protective services sometimes are choosing between whether or not they have the capacity to act or whether or not children are going to be in better hands when taken away from their parents. But it's quite obvious that in this particular case that something should have been done sooner in order to prevent this type of outcome.
Now, Joseph Lowe, it took a while to find the body. When they did, it was so decomposed that they actually had to sort of piece together. I think they only found a kidney and a leg. They had to piece together the idea of what happened. They brought in an anthropologist as well. Is that a potential roadblock to a conviction in this case? The idea that the defense can attack, this autopsy, saying that this is how he died.
It could be a roadblock, and the way that it usually becomes a roadblock is that defense will attack the science, and then by attacking the science, they can then attack the accusation by the government. The accusation meaning that the way the person died or the manner or was the person there. Now, is that likely in this case? I don't see it, and here's why. In this particular case, they know the child, unfortunately, is dead. They know the child died as a result of blunt force trauma to the head. That material and that scientific evidence is still intact enough to be able to see because of the anatomy of the skull and so forth. So do I feel that it's likely to be a hurdle in this case for the prosecutors? No, I seriously doubt that. However, the defense will probably want to comment on it.